Mas Dan mau sharing tentang dia kehilangan ayahnya dan gimana dia navigate his life setelah kehilangan ayahnya itu dulu.
I'm going to go and have a little cry.
You miss your dad?
Yeah, of course.
Every day. Thank you, Doc. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome to the podcast Ngeteh bareng si Teteh. Jangan lupa subscribe, like, dan juga biar nggak ketinggalan video-video berikutnya, nyalain notifikasi loncengnya. Enjoy!
Hai teman-teman, welcome to the first episode Ngeteh bareng si Teteh. Cheers. Tapi ini masih panas. Anyway, hai teman-teman, aku tuh pengen dari dulu bikin kayak podcast ala-ala dan kalian juga setuju, iya Teh, iya dulu itu, tapi aku nggak jadi-jadi ya. So today is the day aku mau coba, let's see if you guys like it ya, let me know in the comment juga kalau kalian suka video seperti ini. Jadi rencananya aku pengen bikin kayak podcast ala-ala dengan judul, maksudnya dengan tema kayak ngeteh bareng si Teteh, bareng aku ya. Jadi hari ini tehnya what tea today?
You got me on the spot there.
Hibiscus.
Hibiscus.
Ini tehnya bunga sepatu, teman-teman. Bunga sepatu katanya bagus buat orang yang darah tinggi biar tetap standar. And by the way, yes, sekarang darah aku udah normal, which is nice. But anyway, today is about podcast dan aku mau tanya-tanya sama Mas Dan. Oke, Mas Dan. Mas Dan.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's nice to have you in my first podcast. Are you ready, guys?
Podcast uno.
Satu ya. Oke, jadi podcast pertama aku juga udah ada catatan sih di sini untuk kayak pertanyaan-pertanyaan just in case I need it. Jadi hari ini aku mau tanya ke si Mas Dan, mau sharing gitu ya. Mas Dan mau sharing tentang pengalaman dia, mudah-mudahan bisa bermanfaat buat kalian, mungkin ada yang bisa relate juga tentang dia kehilangan ayahnya dan gimana dia navigate his life setelah kehilangan ayahnya itu dulu. Are you ready to dive in? We wanted to talk about your dad and all of that because I think it's very interesting how you live your life now, being a good dad, I would say. Good dad, good stepdad to Max and Andre, and trying to be healthy. You're very conscious, and one of the reason of that you always say because you don't wanna repeat history. Yeah, what happened to you happened to Tim and Max and Andre. Okay, so at what age, umur berapa Mas Dan ketika ayah meninggal dulu?
15,
15 dia. So it's very in that age where
Where I'm for my formative years, if you like. I'm supposed to be becoming a man, and the guy who's supposed to guide me, he's gone.
Yeah, how old was your dad?
46.
Wow, sangat muda sekali ya, 46.
3 years older than me now.
That is crazy to think. So is that the reason, why you are really into this journey of longevity and?
That's definitely been the catalyst. Yes, that's always been on my mind. Yes, 100%. There is another factor as well. For as long as I'm alive, I want to have a good quality of life as well.
Yes.
But yes, 100%. Right now, it's about being here for my children as much as well, and my wife and the rest of my family.
And for you guys.
Yeah, she mentioned I'm a good father, but not a good husband.
He's a good husband.
I've got to work on that.
Half. Anyway, Mas Dan, I want to go back to that moment, if you don't mind, and you can say as much as you are comfortable, obviously. Yeah.
I've got no problem saying anything. It's just.
Yeah. Okay. Just in case maybe too deep.
I feel like I'm in therapy.
Therapy session, teman-teman. Okay, are you ready, guys? Are you ready, Mas Dan? Okay, kenapa meninggalnya?
Heart attack.
Jantung.
In the gym.
Wow, very crazy. Jadi serangan jantung di gym, teman-teman. Jadi ayahnya itu, what do you say? I'm just gonna go quick maybe. Your dad was someone who is active, or how he is?
My father was reasonably active. Yeah, he was. He did martial arts. But on the flip side, he didn't look after himself maybe as well as he could have.
Well, in what way? In the way he eat, maybe?
Yes, he didn't look after himself, I believe. My dad was very much a product of the time in terms of a man's a man, and he'd probably go to the pub and socialise quite a lot.
He goes to the gym, obviously.
I would say that there was some healthy, but then there was also a lot of to counteract that as well. He smoked.
Okay.
A can't remember who gave smoking up, but he smoked for a large part of his.
I want to ask, how did you feel? But it's kind of obvious answer. What you mean? How did you feel when you lose your parent? But yeah, how did you feel?
I mean, my dad was my kind of best friend, really.
Mm.
My mum and dad had split up, so I would see my dad most weekends, and as the dad who does weekends, he gets to do the fun stuff mostly. So we'd go and do fun things together and spend time together. So yeah, I just remember collapsing and not wanting to come out of just curled up in a ball, I feel like, for weeks in the corner of my bedroom, really. You always think these things will never happen to you. And then, I mean, my dad was like this omnipotent being. He was a god to me,
Yeah. And yeah, it's very interesting because as you're saying that, I'm just thinking of the kids. The kids would never thought that we would die tomorrow or after tomorrow. They think we're gonna live forever.
Yes, yeah.
Ya, teman-teman, interesting banget kita itu sebagai anak mikirnya bahwa orang tua kita akan, hidup selamanya gitu, akan selalu ada gitu. Makanya buat Maxi, Andre gitu, Timmy, mereka nggak bakalan pernah memikirkan bahwa orang tuanya akan meninggal besok atau lusa gitu kan. So anyway, that is a good in a way a reminder buat kita. Jadi kita bisa tetap look after ourselves. So that's a very good reminder for us to really, as much as we can,
Look, life is hard, but you've got to try and make the best of everything.
to live healthy.
And obviously, I'd rather have my dad here, but if that means I get more time with my children,
Yeah,
then there's some positive in that as well,
yeah, that's very beautiful actually, to see it that
If he
way.
gave his life for me to have more time with my children, I think he'd be quite
Yeah,
what a
that's
noble thing.
very emotional already. No, that's actually a beautiful way of looking at it from that perspective. I never thought like let's say, gave up his life so you can be the best father you can be.
Yes. I mean, look, I've had many narratives about this over the years, most of them negative and horrible, but now I try and put it to as positive as I can.
About what?
Well, I'm just saying, obviously, when I first lost my dad, my narrative was very different.
Like what?
F the world. I hate
I see. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually what I want to ask.
I have a very different perspective of it now.
Yeah. So when you lost your father, you said to me, and the reaction was like, you shut down, you didn't want to.
Yeah, think of me as a blossoming flower. All of a sudden, I just shrunk into myself, basically, and didn't want any input from the external world again, and into this. Just everything was internalized, which is what we do. Some people do when they have trauma, basically.
Mm-hmm. You were saying that before that you were all this joyful, childhood.
Even though my parents had split up, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of love, and I was a teenager, so it's never a good time to lose your parent. But
It's
I
never
was
a good time.
figuring out how to become a man, and that person that was supposed to guide me to that was gone, and that person that was supposed to guide me to that was gone.
And then how long did that, that affect you until one day you said, you know what, I actually need to get up and live my life? Like how did you get out of that?
I don't think I did for many years. I think 15 years. I think I lost 15 years of my life to resentment and I mean, people say I was a functioning sufferer, so I still got up and did what I needed to do, worked, and all that sort of stuff. And the only reason I went out and partied was because it was to numb so I'll go out and party too hard.
Just so you don't feel the suffering.
Yeah, but then also there's also the guilt of, oh my God, if my dad can see this, he would be so ashamed. So it was like trying to run away from everything, but still felt like I knew I was not doing any good, basically, but just didn't want to pull myself out of it.
What would you say, like at what age did you finally think? You said, for a very long time you didn't, you just tried to numb.
just before I met you, I'd had a lengthy period of sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
I was starting to be a little bit more sensible with my finances because I was trying to save. Because prior to that, I was living every day like it was my last. And then I'd started to start saving for the future. So now I look back, that must have been having a better perspective about trying to plan ahead. Whereas prior to that, I never planned ahead. It was just each day, wake up and just do the day. Whereas I was starting to think about my future. 29 maybe I started pulling myself out of that. So it's about 15 years.
Okay, now looking back, what made you decide that, you know what, enough, burying myself in this like suffering or misery?
Just
Like,
just something had to change. I just was just
is
sick
there
of,
anything that
sick of going round and round and round.
did it trigger you, or
There were things that triggered me, stopped me from going too far sometimes. Or, I don't want my mum to come in to visit me in prison. My little sisters, they had a massive impact in my life. When they were born, I think they genuinely saved my life at points from going too far because, yes, they're my sisters, but I didn't want them to go through losing somebody like I did, So they basically, without a doubt, there were times where I can count numerous times where I would have gone too far and they saved my life, quite frankly. But I can't think of one defining moment. I think it was just 15 years of just feeling terrible will do it to you,
yeah. But how did you how did you navigate your life day to day, after such a big event, trauma?
I mean, yeah, there's no other choice. On the flip side, I still had love and support from my mum, stepdad, extended family. Thankfully, a few years later, my sisters were born. So there was still a lot of reasons to get up in the world. Instances where probably in my mid-20s where I would have gone too far and died if it wouldn't have been for them, because I didn't care if I lived or died, or there was no value to life really. I didn't think anyone would really miss me. Obviously my mum would have missed me and my extended family to some degree. Thankfully my mum, I can't give my mum enough credit, and maybe I don't say that. I take it for granted that people should know that obviously my mum was great, but maybe I should also take the time to acknowledge that, while I say my sister saved my life from
My
going
mum.
too far,
Your mom is always there.
the reason I'm alive is because of my mum, and on reflection, it must have been terrible for her.
And I just cannot imagine like raising children with no dad, their dad passed away. It must be very, very, very hard. I
And also,
cannot imagine.
my mum and dad had a child together. I believe my mum loved my father deeply, so they realised they couldn't be together, so there would have been some connection between them still. They've had children together, so my mum would have been mourning a man that she probably had some affinity with to some degree. Okay, maybe I felt disloyalty to my father to be okay again. Maybe there was part of me that thought, you know what, I shouldn't be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Rather than realising that as a father now, oh my God, I would want my children to snap out of it, cry for a day.
Yeah.
And
then live life.
live their life as soon as humanly possible. Not lose 15 years of...
Yeah. No, it's true though. That is very true. Like when you lose someone, you think by being so sad and living in a misery, you are not noble, but you are, how do you say? Honoring them. Yeah. But then I heard this thing very, very profound for me, because obviously I lost my father and my grandmother as well. And he was saying, do you want, let's say do you want your father to be the source of joy or the source of misery? And that's for me, it's like, whoa, yeah, I don't want my father or my grandmother to be the source of my misery every time I thought about them, and I have to be so sad. No, I want them to be the source of joy. I don't know if we should cut it to now that you have, kids yourself. You have Timmy. What changed? What perspective that changed? Like-
Joy and happiness, and
Yeah.
obviously I'm sad that my son doesn't get to meet his grandfather, but I mean, just just joy like I've never felt before. I never used to get excited about anything. I'd shut myself down. A new life, me being reborn. His birth was me being reborn to a certain degree, I suppose.
What, Timmy?
Yeah,
Mm.
he gave me new life.
Yeah. Yeah. New life and purpose. And I mean, not only just existing, I know, like, obviously your mom was there, your sisters kind of saved your life, to not go too far.
My sisters, there were
Yeah.
times where
You want to be there for them.
I nearly went too far, and there was something that clicked in me and thought, come on, man, you can't put your sisters through this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, utter joy when Timothy, you know what, getting with you, Max and Andre gave me purpose. I was already on that road
Yeah.
to something, and you know what, I love Max and Andre, they're my children, but there's something about being there for a birth as well.
Yeah.
A part of me wished that maybe I'm happy I got to know the boys young, but it'd have been nice to have more time with them
Yes.
from a younger age,
Yeah.
to make more of a connection with them.
So now that you have Timmy, you are a dad yourself, and you try your best to be as healthy as you can, as
Present.
present as you can. Maybe you can share something for anybody out there right now in your situation, like before. What would you say to them?
Go through it. Simple as that. I mean, I suppressed it with, alcohol and substances and bad choices to stop myself going through, what do they call it? Mourning. You just got to go through it at some point.
Yeah, when you say go through, because what you did was going through as well. But what you're saying is, maybe you want to say to them, like, look, I know it's hard, but the quicker you get out of it, the better. Don't think what you thought, that being like that is better for your dad. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
It's completely the opposite, yeah. I mean, as a parent, like I say, I don't want my kids to lose 15 years of their life because of me. That's like totally counterintuitive of what you want to make your children blossom. And all right, dying is not going to make them blossom, but
Yeah.
on the flip side, there are things, I mean, it's never positive, but maybe I'm a better father for losing my dad. Maybe I'm more present. Maybe I appreciate that this situation is not going to be here forever. Enjoy the moments.
Yeah.
In terms of anyone who's going through anything, it does get easier. And the greatest healer in the world is time, but also being willing to go through it.
Yeah. If you go back, I know what happened is what happened, and that was the perfect scenario for that time,
Yeah.
It couldn't happen any other way. But if, let's say, you could change, going back, what would you do differently, knowing what you know now?
Willingness to talk about him. My mum would sometimes try and talk about him, and I'd steer the conversation away because I wasn't ready to face
Yeah.
that. It was too hard. So willingness to talk about them and talk about the situation and talk to people about it. I think, for connection with people. I shut myself from everybody else. I think if I'd have opened myself up to connecting with people would have helped me through it, I think. That just by being open and not, just through connection with other people. So, anyone who's going through it, I feel for you, because it's the worst. Like, there's nothing worse, but whatever happens to you, I mean, look at me now, I'm happy, I feel fulfilled, I'm, wealthy in so many ways of the love I have and connections I have. It's we can all get through it. If I can do it, if this guy can do it, anyone can do it.
Okay, that's it then.
I'm going to go and have a little cry. And then,
Do you miss your dad
yeah, of course.
every day? Do you see that in Tim? Thank you, though. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I know it's not easy, but I think now, like you said, you're willing to.
Yeah, but I think it's important for me to have these conversations and feel like this because there is still some of it that's repressed, if I'm perfectly honest. And
Yeah.
I don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. Everything happened for a reason. Like you said, your reason is so you can be a good dad to your children
Yeah.
and to be as healthy as you can because of what happened. So there's a lot of positive if you're willing to see it. The
Yes.
positive side. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Oke, teman-teman. Jadi itulah dia sharingan kita hari ini. I don't know if the story bagaimana. Pokoknya beginilah ya ceritanya. Jadi mudah-mudahan bisa ada yang bisa diambil dari cerita kita hari ini. Let me know in the comment kalau kalian ingin request video apa next untuk podcast ini. Dan untuk yang ini aku akhiri dulu sampai di sini dan see you in the next podcast episode. Dadah.
Dadah.
나의 맘에 조금씩 자리 잡은 널 느낄 때면 괜히 잠을 설치고 괜한 이유를